Hi everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming. I'm Lisa Berman and I'm an assistant professor teaching on our Masters in Business and Organisational Psychology. Yes, the reasons you'll probably hear might be similar to ones that I had when I actually studied the same master's program quite some years ago now. It looks very different now because it's even more contemporary. We're very keen on that. But your driving motivation might be like mine in that you're really interested in understanding why people behave in the way that they do in the workplace. Possibly you have psychology backgrounds. You might not, you might have business backgrounds, and we're bringing those two things together. So we really are looking at the science behind workplace dynamics and human behavior, as it says there. We've got some really exciting modules. This is our very first year in running this new and revised version of the course. So it's right up to the minute in terms of research and contemporary theory. So we've got, as you can see there, we've got the science of selection and data analytics. So that's all about recruitment and selection in the workplace. And then we take a very applied approach, which I'll probably repeat myself again in a minute because it's so central to how we do things. But that means that we do teach you research methods, qualitative and quantitative, but we do it in a very applied way. So for example, with the science of selection module, we will look at quantitative data, and we'll think about what forms that might take in the workplace. So if you were, for example, running assessment centres, you were doing many different interviews, you were thinking about the best ways in which to recruit and select people for your organisation, you'd also need to show the statistics behind that. You need to think about how you might represent scores, feedback, aptitudes, psychometric test results, and so on. So we would really look at applying research methods to that in a very practical way. Wellbeing in the global workplace is another exciting new module that we have, and that's actually also accredited by the Chartered Management Institute, CMI. So successful completion of our course also means that you have, as well as your master's, you'll have a CMI Chartered Management status as well. So for this particular module, it means that as well as looking at our content, we're also bringing in some CMI up to the minute research as well in how well-being needs to work across global workplaces, particularly where you've got global virtual teams, people working remotely in hybrid ways, different cultures, diversity, all of that interesting stuff. Consumer psychology, something we're actually running this module right now with our on-campus and our online students with CU Online. And that's a fascinating module looking at why do consumers behave the way that they do. So there is a real steer towards marketing here, but it through the lens of human behavior, again, all about the psychology here. And this is where we bring in our qualitative research methods. So to give you an example, we've actually been running focus groups with our students, and they've been looking at how they capture the data from focus groups, how they transcribe it, how they analyse it, looking at things such as greenwashing and sustainability. So a real interesting collection of contemporary topics on that. And we have leading and developing people. So all about different leadership styles, what's effective, what's ineffective, what's right for today's workplace, and the responsibilities that leaders have for developing people, as well as other practitioners in the organisation. So this is our module that really does hone in on leadership, but we also touch upon it through well-being in the global workplace too. But in this one, we also bring in learning, training and development as well. So you're getting lots of good insight into things that make a massive impact into how successful organisations are or not, as the case may be. And you will conclude your master's programme with our dissertation module, which is the systematic literature review and evidence-based practice. So we've had some fantastic successes in the past where students have gone on to actually publish their systematic literature review because it's been of such high quality. So that's definitely a possibility. And you will be choosing your topic of interest in relation to business psychology. So it could be something that's really piqued your interest during your time studying. Perhaps you wanted to focus on bullying and harassment in the workplace, or neurodiversity, or sustainability. Um, Assessment centres, virtual assessment centres, use of AI in recruitment and selection, it could be anything. So you can do your own systematic literature review supported by your supervisor for that. And then again, bringing in the applied, which I told you I would mention again, you'll be doing evidence-based practice plan as well. So you'll be putting forward a plan of how you would take forward the recommendations that you've seen in the literature on what kind of intervention you might recommend. So for example, if you were looking at bullying and harassment in the workplace, and all the literature points towards having a really good policy and also training perhaps for staff, then you might bring that to life in your evidence-based plan and talk about how you would implement that kind of intervention. So career path example, so you may be in the kind of role you already want to be working in. It might be about enhancing your knowledge in that role. We've certainly had lots of students working in all kinds of industries at all sorts of levels as well. Some very senior people come along to enhance their knowledge, or it could be that you're working towards a role in a particular area or sector. So this is very relevant for any kind of leadership role where you've got responsibility for people and organisations, senior leadership, of course, human resources and human resource management. And my background is in this kind of arena. My background is in organisational development within a HR setting. So I do have HR qualifications as well. And this for me was about giving me that bit that I've been missing, that I was really drawn to, the kind of why people behave the way they do, which I wasn't getting with the HR qualifications. So recruitment and selection, learning and development, we look at motivation, we look at engagement in line with that, because engagement is actually a huge workplace issue globally. Engagement is decreasing globally. So that's something organisations need to focus on. And it could be that you look at moving into training roles, into diversity and equality roles, consultancy, all kinds of things.